the Retro Network podcast.
Kind of like Home Alone mixed with The Hangover.
Pause, timeout. All right, I'm doing the Zach Morris thing.
Yes.
The flagship show for the Retro Network podcast channel.
We've got some fun stuff in this episode.
Man, that's like listening to classic Guns N' Roses.
Even G.I. Joe fans are like, WTF.
Get ready for the latest pop culture news.
We've got plenty of recurrent events headlines to get to.
Man, can you imagine getting a service that streamed all these old Nickelodeon shows?
Interviews.
Let me just start out by asking you, what was your Batman experience when it first came out?
Yeah, summer of '89, I was very excited. I was a comic book reader.
And topical discussions on all that stuff we grew up with and just can't leave in the past.
There's just so many great memories that I have as a kid, just begging mom to go to the department store.
We were the target audience for Sears catalogs. I remember getting them and mom sitting down at the kitchen table and getting on the telephone and making her orders.
How have you not watched The Matrix?
When I went to the movies, I was trying to go watch a sensitive movie, the ones where you could put your arm around your date.
And now, here are your hosts for the Retro Network podcast, Jason.
I like to have pictures with my words.
And Mickey.
I ain't farting on those snare drums.
Happy New Year! Welcome to the TRN podcast. Jason and Mickey is here, of course. How you doing, man?
I'm here in spirit only. My body is about gave out on me. I'm so tired.
This is a kind of a new venture for us, recording on a Saturday morning instead of our normal Sunday afternoon. So
yeah, I'm supposed to be on the couch eating cereal, watching cartoons right now.
Absolutely, yeah, man. But yeah, it's fun. I'm glad we got to record. Nonetheless, we kind of moved off our regular schedule, but this could be a fun episode. How'd your New Year's go?
Oh, it was good. What day was it? Maybe it was it New Year's Day? I don't know. Maybe it was. I mentioned on the Christmas present episode, the wife had got me that collection of Saturday morning cartoons from the 60s through the 80s, and we were watching some of the, I think it was the 70s. We watched the Batman and Tarzan Action Hour, and we watched Hong Kong Phooey.
Oh, yeah, like a classic.
Goober and the Ghost Chasers. We watched a Speed Buggy and a Chopper and or Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch. Man. And then I had just enough time left. I switched over to the 80s and watched the Mr. T cartoon.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That sounds like a good time. You'll never guess what I did New Year's Day.
No, I probably wouldn't.
My brother-in-law invited me to go down to his farm and go hunting.
Oh.
Deer hunting. So I spent about 3 hours in the woods New Year's Day.
How'd you like that?
It was fun, man. I went hunting when I was real young, just enough to the age to go through the safety course and everything, and rules are a little bit stricter up north as far as, how many deer you can bag and all that. But like I got 3 buck the first 4 years I think I went hunting. And ever since I moved down here to the South, I've been down to his farm a couple of times to go hunting, and that was about it. But my deer rifle basically sits in my closet and collects dust. But didn't see too much of anything at least worth shooting with a deer rifle. And he's seen some monsters, though. He's got some of those cams set up, motion cams at night and out in several places. And he's seen some monsters down there. So he's going to get one here before too long. I can kind of feel it. But, man, he's got the setup. I'm up in this stand that he built. It's got a roof over it and a, office chair. So I'm I'm hunting in an office chair, just kind of hanging up there, waiting for something to move. And, we went down in the afternoon. We didn't do a whole day hunt or anything, but went down in the afternoon and waited for, dusk. And it was fun, man. I enjoyed it. I don't get outside much, other than just playing with kids in the backyard. So being out there, getting some fresh air, it did me some good. I can tell you that.
Oh, good.
So, we, I don't know, having New Year's or holidays in the middle of the week is kind of crazy, with work, front end, back end, and some people are off and some people want to do regular business and you've got a skeleton crew,
Yeah.
It's just always I don't know. It always difficult when those holidays in the hit in the middle of the week, but
It does help to ease back into the schedule after being off for a while for Christmas, though. I did enjoy that, getting that nice little break first week back.
Yeah. Well, we've got a fun show for you. You know, last week we kind of went back in the past, as we do, recent past, and talked about the best of 2019. And we're going to the future this week. And I was pleasantly surprised how much stuff I found to kind of put in this list. That's, you know, even October, November, December of 2020. Usually, you know, we don't get that kind of a release schedule on some of these things, but it was fun. I really enjoyed putting this list together, and I'm anxious to kind of go through this, what I'm calling the Recurrent Events 2020 preview this week, and just talk about everything: movies, TV shows, video games. There's even some toy news in there and all kinds of stuff that I think everybody's going to enjoy.
Yeah, and before we get to that, we got a couple of recurrent event things. So that'll give everybody listening a chance to go pull out your BlackBerry and get ready to start entering these dates into it from the 2020 preview.
Oh god, I never had one of those. Never made that jump, but I know what you mean. Maybe that's what we need to do. We need to do like a TRN Google Calendar, you know, and plug in all this stuff.
I've got one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I just don't ever have the initiative to put this stuff into it. That's the only problem. You know, behind, you know, pulling up the curtain here a little bit, we use Slack to communicate within the network. Well, you know, every day you'll get that notification about there are no events today.
Right.
That's what it's pulling from the calendar.
Oh, okay.
That's where that comes from.
I gotcha.
So I've got one set up, and it's even hooked up to Slack and everything. I just have to, you know, put stuff into it.
Okay. Well, that might be fun for even, you know, kind of following up on some of these stories that we talk about, and when they hit theaters or when, you know, they hit the streaming services, to check them out, and kind of like a triggering event, you know.
Well, you know, here in where I'm at, there's a small business startup thing, and they have these interns they send out. I've applied to get one for TRN. You remember that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer had Kenny, the intern, just handling all this stuff for him?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I've got in mind. If I can get us hooked up with one, we'll get all this stuff put in the calendar.
That's great. Yeah. Oh gosh. All right. Well, speaking of streaming too, and just to throw a couple announcements at you guys, I put up the first retro streaming guide for January. That was really fun. I'm kind of getting in that streaming mode as far as wanting to put more content on the network this year. And I compiled just a ton of services, you know, like we have been doing on the podcast, but instead of us going through everything on the podcast here, I'm going to put it on the website, and you'll be able to, you know, see a whole lot more stuff than what we can talk about. And that was really fun, just to kind of put together and try to, since we're cord cutters, and, you know, that's where we get our TV and movies for, you know, when we're sitting at home. I thought it'd be fun to put something like that together each month. So have you got a chance to kind of go through there? Do you see how much is in there? I mean, it's a lot of content.
No, you know, we were talking before we come on about some stuff I've had going on. I've not had much of a chance to look at anything, but I'm actually off today. So later this evening, when I get everything wrapped up, I want to look at that. And I want to go ahead and sign up for the Disney Plus bundle this afternoon.
Oh, nice. Yes.
You know what put me over the top? I found out that Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoon is on the Disney Plus app.
Oh, yeah, man. I've watched several episodes.
So that put me over the top. Like, okay, it's time. That and my daughter, my oldest, she was wanting to finish a series on Netflix, and I asked her 2 days ago, I'm like, how long is it going to take you to finish so we can switch? She said, probably longer than you want to wait. So just go ahead and switch. She said, I'll find it on Daily Motion or something.
Yeah, last night I went through the movies A to Z, and even my wife was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff on here. And we ended up going through, there's some National Geographic stuff on there, and there's the series it's called like Drain. So it's like Drain Alcatraz, Drain the Titanic. And they use this like computer generated imagery to essentially drain the ocean. And you can see kind of what's beneath it. And they go through all kinds of scenarios and everything. We did Alcatraz last night, and that was a really fun documentary. So we're going to start watching those. I think there's about 5 or 6 of them.
I believe it was it National Geographic about 5-6 years ago that done the documentary series called The 80s, the decade that made us.
Yeah. Yes.
Is it on there?
I have not seen that. No.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of National Geographic documentaries and things on there too. So don't forget to check those out. But yeah, there's just a slew of, I mean, the vault is essentially open. And I even read this morning, some of the stuff did disappear, like Home Alone. And I think it's due to still some licensing and contracts that they've got, already signed. And once those expire, Disney Plus is not going to be like a rotating service, at least from everything that I've read. I mean, once they get through all those contracts, everything's going to be available.
So in theory, somebody had a contract for Home Alone that started, let's say, January 1st. But in the meantime, while it wasn't licensed out to anybody, they put it on there for what time they could, maybe.
Probably. But what's cool about Disney Plus too is because they did that with I think the first Pirates of the Caribbean, that is gone. But what they do is they have a placeholder, and they will tell you on there, if you click on it and it's not available, they'll tell you when it will become available.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, there's like several movies I've clicked on. I'm like, I wanted to watch Solo again, and that's not going to be available, I think, until June or July this year. So there's some other stuff tied up, but you can even add it to your watch list, and it'll save it for you, and so you don't forget. Essentially, you want to circle back to it. But yeah, it's pretty cool like that. I don't see any other streaming services do that. Hey, here, this is ours, and it'll come to you at at this point. So it's pretty cool. Well, that was a little bunny trail there, but also wanted to shout out a new Patreon supporter, David Jones. We appreciate you coming on over there on Patreon. We do have some plans for 2020 on Patreon. We've teased it before, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But thank you, David, for coming on Patreon. We would invite everybody to go over there to Patreon.com/The Retro Network. Check out the content we have for free. You can just simply follow us if you are not ready to come on board. But, it's only $2 a month, and you can get all of our outtakes podcasts. We've got some other kind of behind-the-scenes stuff, too, that I've released just for our patrons. And, of course, you get access to our Slack chat as well. And we have lots of great conversations. Some people will just throw up pictures of whatever, being in a thrift store, or we've had some fun stuff to talk about on Slack too. So thanks, David, for coming on. So I guess let's go ahead and get into it, man. We've got a short little recurrent events to talk about from this past week, and then we'll get into our 2020 preview. So let's start the recurrent events. All right, we are in the recurrent events for this first week of January, and some fun stuff from this past week. This was just insane to me, Mick. Maybe if you have the money, or if you got a birthday party for your kid coming up, I'm sure these will be available at your local rental place. A Millenium Falcon bounce house.
Yeah, I saw that.
A $10,000 price tag on this thing. Oh man, this is so glorious. It even has like a blow up Chewy where you enter the thing. I don't know if you looked at all the pictures, but we'll put a link up. Gosh, talk about your ultimate bounce house for kids. I mean, there's an R2-D2 inside. They got the little table where they play that holographic game. I can't remember what the name of it is inside, and it's just glorious.
Oh, as cool as that is, which it looks really cool, the ultimate bouncy house, I think, would be like a big inflatable WWF ring with a big inflatable cage, like so the kids don't fly out.
Yeah,
I think that would be the ultimate.
Yeah, you could have some blow up figures in there that you could pretend to give a whatever bulldog too as you're as you're in there.
Yeah.
That sounds like a TRN article right there. The bouncy houses we want as adults.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I'm making a mental note here. Well, speaking of rings too, under toys, I saw some first images for the Masters of the WWE Universe Wave 1 and the Grayskull Mania ring. I did not know this was a thing, but these are fun, man. These are real cool. They've got the ring that has that Castle Grayskull feel.
Mm-hmm.
The characters they're essentially the WWE characters, but they've got the like Masters of the Universe weaponry, at least on the artwork. John Cena, you've got the Ultimate Warrior. That one looks great as kind of the He-Man character, but Triple H is Skeletor. Sting, he's got the like clawful claw.
Yep. Which matches because everything he done was Scorpion based.
Right.
So I guess that was a close tie into it.
Scorpion Deathlock. And then you've got Finn Balor there. I'm not sure which character he's supposed to be. He's kind of his own thing anyway, but
yeah, I saw those pictures. I came across them somewhere. Oh my goodness. Those things are glorious. They look like a mix between the classic Masters of the Universe bodies and like the Jakks WWF figures. I would like to have seen them lean a little more towards the actual classic Masters body sculpts, but they're really cool. I mean, they're kind of close, but those figures are really cool. I hope they end up doing more and more and more. I believe we talked about this several months ago here on the podcast that it was coming, though.
Yeah, I think it was maybe a release around. It might have been around Comic-Con that they announced them or something. Because I remember there's some. Actually, that might have been Ghostbusters in WWE.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah. It was. So I want to see, like, if I had a wish list for this, I want to see a Undertaker Scareglow mashup of some kind. I think that would be pretty cool.
Well, I'm looking at the card backs too. Oh my gosh, they got that Master of the Universe type logo, and then they've got the classic, almost WWF style logo. I wish they still had an F in there instead of just the W's, but looks great. And then it's like the classic card backs for the Masters of the Universe characters.
And these are Walmart exclusives, right? Didn't I see that?
I think you're right.
I'm going to have to check my local Walmart today. I've got to head there because I've seen some pictures from people on social media. They're already finding them in their stores.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to go check out. Somebody posted a picture. They had a section in their Walmart. It was like 3 cards wide and from top to bottom, from the top shelf down to the bottom, a whole big section. And they had all of them. So I guess they had some good case mixes on that store. I'm hoping, if I were to go and they had them all, it's been a long time since I collected action figures. This might be the one that gets me started again.
Mm-hmm. Well, you might want to wait a little bit in 2020 to start collecting figures. You can get some actual Masters of the Universe figures coming up.
Oh, I know. Well, I wouldn't mind having both because I'm a big old school wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just, if you had these hanging up, that's just a great conversation piece.
Absolutely. All right. Well, moving along. This was not really surprising, but vinyl records sales from this past year surpassed CDs for the first time since 1986.
That is crazy.
34 years that CDs have outsold vinyl, and just this year. And I see, cassette tapes are up too. So it's like cassettes and vinyl. And then, people are going for CDs. I don't even look at the cheap CD bins, at Walmart, and I've even seen them at Big Lots. I bought the Stranger Things double album at Aldi, of all places, this last week. Mm-hmm. It was the cheapest price I'd ever seen it. And that's the, like all the songs that they have included in season 1 and season 2 from the 80s, that album. But yeah, man, it's of course the digital market just blows everything away, but for the physical copies that we were always talking about, we even went back and we're talking about how good it is to have Blu-rays and DVDs with everything moving around on streaming. People were going for the records, man.
Yeah, I was initially surprised at that, but then when you think about the digital market, like you're talking about, then you're talking about a small group of people who are buying physical music right now, and vinyl is what's hot. So it's actually not surprising.
Yeah, the physical kind of tangible music is only 20% of the entire market, according to this article here from Mental Floss. 80% is digital. Yeah. So going to Target, going into some of these other stores, and you go to their music section, there's always a lot of vinyl albums that are available. And most of them are on that real thick, like 130 grain, vinyl. So they're a little bit more expensive. But if you're going to buy new or buy an album maybe you've never had before, something, and want it on vinyl, I think that's the way to go, And
let me give a pro tip to people who buy digital. You can buy, if you go to Amazon and you're looking for, let's say, Van Halen's greatest hits, and you're looking digital, you're going to find that for like $7.99 digital. But if you search the CD, you'll find it for the same price, $7.99, but it comes with the digital copy for free. That's so right. You can actually spend the same money and get both. So people who do not realize that, there's no reason not to own the physical copy at that point when it's going to cost you the exact same as just buying the digital.
That's right. Yeah, they do the same thing for a lot of the vinyl too, on like Amazon, for instance. It'll come with a digital copy. So that's what I do, man. When I'm buying new, as far as like movies go, I want a Blu-ray and I want a digital copy together. I look for the bundles now. So it makes sense to go for the same thing for music. And then one more I've just kind of threw in here, Mick, that you probably did not see. The company Arcade 1-Up that does those wonderful arcade machines that I'm so close to pulling the trigger on the Rampage. It's down to $200 at my local Walmart. They are now starting to build 3/4 scale pinball machines.
Ooh.
And the first one that I've seen images of is the Star Wars pinball. But this is just, if they can do this right and actually take, the actual size pinball machines and all the features and everything and put it into a smaller scale pinball, how awesome would that be? I know it's not probably going to be around the price that they're selling the arcade machines for, but I can guarantee you I would have a pinball machine in my house at some point if they do this right. I love pinball, and even more, probably more so than, arcade machines. If you've ever been to one of these, kind of flashback arcades and stuff, we went to one in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a few years ago for my 40th birthday, and I was at the pinball tables more than I was at the regular machines, man. I just love pinball.
Well, 2 notes, both of which should make you jealous. I came across this week, and I'll have to look for the link, an arcade cabinet company that are now making these 4-position full-size arcade cabinets, and with all the buttons and the joystick and stuff, that it has a spot in the back where you just plug in a Raspberry Pi or whatever, and you play whatever arcade game you want on it that you download. And those were like $349, which was not a bad price for a full-size cabinet and screen that you could put all your games on. And then the other one that'll get you really depressed, the arcade games that you're talking about at Walmart. Last week, Air Walmart closed out all theirs for $49.99 each.
Oh, gosh, dude. Did you buy any?
No.
Oh, come on, man.
I ain't got nowhere to put one. I don't know.
$50? $50. I would have been worth the drive to come up and and get it. God, man, if they had done that here, I'd be in so much trouble right now. I would have sacrificed my truck position in the garage for a small arcade if they loaded the $50, man.
You'd probably sacrifice one of your kids' bedrooms. All right, let's double up.
Right. Well, if I had that option, they're already doubled up, man.
Never mind.
Oh,
Well,
that just hit me this morning. I
Have to
saw
tell the
that.
wife. Well, I guess you and the daughter are doubling up now. We got to have some room in the master bedroom.
Right.
I'm gonna move the bed out. I'm gonna sleep
Yeah,
over here on the floor.
We're going down to a double. I'm sorry.
Bunk beds.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that was so much fun though. Just seeing that and thinking about trying to put a pinball machine in a smaller, type setting and having that in the house. I would no free time. All my yard work would be gone.
Well,
anyway,
folks, Jason has resigned from the network. He's busy playing Rampage and Frogger.
That's right, man. I've got a little mini arsenal. I've collected those when they go on clearance at Walmart. I've got Frogger, Cubert, and Rampage at that size. Those were little handheld ones. So maybe that's what I need to do is just do a mini arsenal instead of the big ones. Anyway, that was a fun story to end on for this week.
Let's not end on it just yet.
Okay.
I want to add something. Every year at Christmas, either on Christmas Day or the day after, I still own my personal original Super Nintendo console. Mm-hmm. But I only have a handful of games left for it. But me and the kids will pull it out and we'll play some, You get that good feeling of the 90s on Christmas Day. And we were playing, I never did post it anywhere, but I took some screenshots of what we were playing. And it just got me thinking. I got on eBay, and speaking of collecting arcade games and stuff, there are a lot of games I had that are dirt cheap. Now, some of them are in the $20 range, some are in the $50 range. But I ordered some I'm waiting on to come in that I got for like $5.50 with free shipping. And you can't beat that kind of nostalgia. I've got the Jurassic Park Super Nintendo game on its way based on the first movie. I've got Super Off-Road, the Baja coming, which I love the original on Nintendo. I never played that one for Super Nintendo.
That was a great arcade game too.
Oh,
yeah. You get like 3 or 4 player.
Yeah, the arcade game is what made me want the Nintendo game when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
I love the arcade game. And I can't remember what else I bought. The Lord of the Rings, the role-playing game. It came out for Super Nintendo before the movie was ever a, gleam in its daddy's eye. But so you're talking about these old arcade games. I'm going to start probably picking up more of these old Super Nintendo cartridges. And I see too now, I've got to check my serial number. They make these actual cartridges that you put in your Super Nintendo that has like 40 games on it or 50 games on it. They've made these cartridges and put those chips inside where you can get like all the different Mario games with all the different like Mega Man games and everything on one cartridge. So, but they say they only work with certain serial numbers and up. I've got a feeling mine won't work because I got mine the Christmas they were released, so I'd say mine's in the older batch. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. If anybody listening has any old Super Nintendo cartridges you're not using, just hit me up. We can make a deal.
Well, thanks to Kevin this past week, I got my son a Switch for Christmas, and he says when you subscribe to it's like $20 a year to the online, you get access to like 100 different NES and Super NES games.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to have to check that out and see what's available because, like I said in the previous episode, I was looking to get one of those systems that plays both NES and Super NES cartridges. So I might have to do that. I might not need to do something like that, get another system. But there's just something about trying to get those dang cartridges to work. And was the Super Nintendo as finicky as the NES?
It wasn't for me. I mean, I really don't know for, in general, but it never was for me.
Okay. That's always a question I had because I've never owned an SNES, but there's just something about that, man, that it's frustrating, but it's still also part of that nostalgia when you're firing up those old systems,
And I've got on my watch list the American Gladiators SNES cartridge. About the cheapest I can find it is like $17. But I'll pull the trigger on it here in the next week or two, and I'll have it on its way because I always wanted that game and never got to play it. So I'm looking forward to giving that a shot at some point. But anyway, onwards and upwards.
Okay. Well, we are going to end Recurrent Events for this week. Remember, you can go to the website, and I've got those stories and more that you can link to and get your nostalgia from this past week. But speaking of nostalgia, we've got more coming up in the 2020 preview. And gosh, movies, television shows, streaming channels, toys even. I've got a ton of stuff to lay out. We're going to go month by month and tell you what's coming out in 2020. So don't miss it. Hey everyone, it is Jason again, and since we are kind of doing a recurrent events type episode for you, I thought I'd share a song that I discovered just this past week. If you're a fan of The Mandalorian like I am, you know part of that comes from the incredible theme song and watching all of the concept art at the end of the episode. And me being a lover of all things synthwave and retrowave, there is an awesome cover of the theme in the synthwave vibe, and you can find that music video actually in the Recurrent Events article this week. But I wanted to share the song with you. It's incredible, and I hope you will enjoy it. Okay, we are back for our Recurrent Events 2020 preview, sponsored by Retro Days. Make sure you are subscribed to the Retro Days channel. Lots of great stuff on there. We talk about it each week, and they're so kind to sponsor us for each podcast. Tony and Adam do a great job with RD's detention. Make sure you're subscribed over there on YouTube and visit retro-days, DAZE.org to connect with a wonderful online community. just love everything that goes on over there. And of course, the YouTube channel, we just can't get enough of. So make sure you subscribe this week. All right, Mick, we're just going to go through month by month. I'm not going to linger too much on each of these. So if something sticks out to you, you want to talk about, we can hang around for a minute. But we've got a lot of stuff. Like I said, I was actually surprised how much I was able to compile month to month, even far out, towards the end of 2020. But this stuff's going to be probably subject to change too. And for instance, some of these pop vinyl figures, I was looking actually on Entertainment Earth, but it looks like even on Amazon, some of the stuff might be coming out earlier. So if you are interested in what some of these things, you might want to just do a little more research as those months approach to see exactly when they're going to come out. But let's do it, man. Let's start with January. We're in January. On the 17th, we got 2 movies coming to theaters. Bad Boys for Life, which we've talked about, and Doolittle remake with Robert Downey Jr. Any of those kind of stand out to you?
Nope, because I don't go to the movies these days.
Well, I don't think either of those is enough to get me into the theater. I'll probably look at some reactions for Bad Boys because I have enjoyed those movies, mainly the first one. So we'll see how that does. And I don't know, a lot of people have a Robert Downey Jr. crush, man crush, whatever you want to call it. Anxious to see how that's going to do and the reaction to that one. January 21st, we've got some video game news here. Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection coming for Nintendo Switch. And then the PS4, Xbox One, and PC version of that game, February 25th. So those are a little bit later. I want to say maybe 90s into the 2000s for that collection for Mega Man. I was never big into Mega Man, even when it first came out.
Well, I like Mega Man 3 on Nintendo and Mega Man X on Super Nintendo, but modern gaming platforms, I've never really owned one, so I have no way to even play that if I was interested.
Okay. I did include some music albums coming out in the new year. Fans of the Pet Shop Boys on January 24th. Their new album, Hotspot, is going to be released. That's their 14th album. And then sometime in January, Ozzy Osbourne is releasing a new album, Ordinary Man. This is his first album in 10 years. I was actually surprised to see that. I didn't know he was actually, still releasing albums. God, how old is this man?
I don't know, 94? Maybe?
Yeah, right?
I love old Black Sabbath, but the rest of it, that's something else. I don't listen to new music either.
Yeah.
So if it was recorded after like 92, you don't usually play around here.
Well, you said even last week, some of your favorites were still alive. You'd be collecting albums, but I don't know. These are kind of hit or miss when you get a really, nostalgic artist like in February, Huey Lewis and the News their new album's coming up. I'm going to be curious to hear it and see how well it fits into the sound that I know. But even as they get older and stuff, it seems the music is not what you remember it,
Well, see, in my world, even like Huey Lewis, I probably won't even listen to this. I've got this whole world in my mind. It's walled off and everything. There is already enough stuff that I like that exists that I don't need anything new. I'm perfectly happy with everything I've already got.
Yeah. All right. Finishing out January, I'm not sure the date when these are going to be released, but the Birds of Prey movie, that's actually coming out in February. We'll talk about it in a minute. Their pop vinyls are going to hit sometime this month. A lot of people collect pop vinyls, and I got some more fun ones coming up too. They're going to be released in 2020. Let's go on to February. February 5th at 9 p.m. on Fox, the Lego Masters TV show debuts. And we talked about this a while back, Mick. I'm still not clear on the format. If they're, just trying to build something in a certain time frame, or if they're creating their own stuff, how that's going to work. I know it's based on a show that I think debuted in the UK, but Lego Masters should be a interesting show to watch. February 7th, new Green Day album. Fall of the what I'm calling mofos. You know what that stands for. Their 13th album. February 7th is also.
So that's not the official title. You've PC'd the actual title.
I PC'd the title. Yes.
So they're actually going full on vulgarity on the actual album title. Wow, good for them, I guess.
It's Green Day. Yeah, they don't care about anything. I'm telling you.
Well, they should care about money. Good luck selling that in Walmart.
Well, yeah, I don't know how you're gonna put that in a black wrapping or something, so you're not seeing the title. I don't know. February 7th is also when Birds of Prey hits the theaters, and based on these DC characters, Harley Quinn, and I can't even remember all the characters they're putting in there for the movie, but Harley Quinn's huge these days, so that's going to be a big release for DC, I think, in 2020. Maybe not as big as another one that's coming up. February 14th, we're going to get Sonic the Hedgehog in theaters and a Fantasy Island movie. This is the first time I heard of this. It's essentially based on the old TV show, but it's horror. So take that for what it's worth on Valentine's Day.
Deplane, boss, deplane.
February 14th is when we're going to get the Weather album from Huey Lewis and the News. We actually played that song, or at least a clip of that song, I think, on an earlier podcast. Her Love Is Killing Me, I think was the name of it. So I'm interested in hearing this album. This is a big one for our household. We're big fans of Star Wars, The Clone Wars animated series. And February 17th is the debut of the 7th and final season on Disney+. I think you even talked about how the prequels have warmed up a little bit to you, over the years. And let me tell you, watching the Clone Wars has really helped that for me. It just goes into so much detail. You go on to planets and worlds you've never been to before, and some great stories involved in the Clone Wars. So me and my younger son, we're definitely looking forward to that 7th season on Disney+. February 24th, Street Fighter V, the Champion Edition, coming to PS4 and PC. Of course, I'm always partial to Street Fighter 2.
Yes, me too. But I'm partial to the whole Street Fighter fighting universe versus the other stuff like Mortal Kombat and Tekken and all the others. So I'm a Street Fighter guy.
February 28th, The Invisible Man is in theaters. This is kind of a remake of the classic Universal Monster character.
So is this part of that? They're trying to do this whole like Marvel Universe type concept with, you had the Tom Cruise Mummy movie.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is like in that universe, because they were going to release all these different movies and then have a big movie with all of them in it. And I don't know if this is tied into that or not.
I don't know either. I know the Mummy kind of bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know about kind of. I think it did bomb. So that kind of took the wind out of the sails on that plan. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting to find out if that's still part of their plan to release like a full-on Universal Monsters movie. They should just did that first.
Yeah.
And then if that's a hit, then you branch off into separate movies or something, I don't know. But that's February 28th. And then sometime in February, we're going to get some Mandalorian pop vinyl figures. Now, I was looking at the ones that were available in this first wave, and it's mainly the Mandalorian characters that are in there and some of the other supporting characters, not Baby Yoda. We're not going to get Baby Yoda until later in the year. But
yeah, it's probably when a new Baby Yoda TV show debuts. Be most likely.
It kills me that they weren't prepared for that.
They were prepared for that. They had them toys out like 2 weeks after that episode debuted.
Well, they were out, but they're all pre-orders, man. There's nothing available right now. So they won't be available.
That's not the first time Star Wars has had to sell something on pre-order and done very, very well with it.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That was like the very first wave, right? The very first figures that they released was like that. The kids got a piece of paper in their stocking for that Christmas. Hey, you're getting Star Wars figures in a couple months. All right. There's a few things that are still kind of up in the air on when they're going to be specifically released. So as far as spring 2020 goes, there's a new show on the DC Universe app in CW, DC Stargirl, that's coming out. It sounds like it's more of a reimagining, but they're going to tie into I think it's the Justice League Society and kind of create that universe for the app in the CW. So that kind of got my interest there. But like I said, I'm still not caught up on all the Arrow and
it's
Flash
not
and all that.
Justice. It's not Justice League Society. It's just Justice Society.
Justice Society. Okay.
Yes, which is one of my favorite parts of the whole DC universe through the 90s and 2000s, because it was all the old Silver Age characters together.
I got you.
All the old man. It's the old man club, you know.
I did include some movie news here throughout the year from Fathom Events. You know, this is the company that's brought some great movies back to the theaters. One of the ones that I saw last year was, of course, Christmas Vacation. So thought it would be fun to flip through their schedule. March 15th, Fathom Events is bringing the original King Kong to theaters. It's been years. The original.
Not the Peter, what's his face version. Peter Jackson version. Cool.
No, and not the 70s version either, which I actually watched part of the other night. I'm flipping past Pluto TV and got sucked into that. But yeah, the original King Kong coming to theaters March 15th.
Now, see, that might be something that would get me out.
Mm-hmm.
An old movie.
That's why
new movies can't do it. Old movies can.
That's why I included some of these in the schedule here.
Appreciate it.
March 27th is the latest Disney live action movie on Mulan coming to theaters. Yeah, I still have not watched any of the live action Disney ones.
Well, I'm going to tell you, my kids and my wife were major fans of the Lion King live action.
Mm-hmm.
So much so they bought a bunch of the merchandise, like the version of Monopoly and the cereal and stuff. And
wow,
they all thought it was just fantastic.
Okay. I think I don't know. Won't be too long before that shows up on Disney Plus. They've already got the Aladdin one up there, which I don't think I'll ever push play on. It just looks weird to me. Sometime in March, we're going to get Major League Funko Pops. Jake Taylor and, of course, Ricky Vaughn, two different versions of him. I thought that was fun. But that's it, man. Those two characters is the only ones out of that line. Why aren't we getting, like, Willie Mays Hayes and...
Yeah, especially him. But Roger Dorn would be okay, too.
Right.
And the manager.
Yeah, and the manager, yeah.
The manager's head and face is perfect for a vinyl pop figure. With the mustache and, yeah.
And then we can get a Jobu.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we need. We need a Jobu pop vinyl. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. All right, moving on to April. April 3rd, we're getting the New Mutants, which is part of the X-Men universe in theaters. Had not heard much about that. I read a little bit. It sounds like it's X-Men, but not X-Men. I don't know.
Well, that's weird because the original New Mutants comic book, they brought back the original X-Men team. So the X-Men First Class movie would have kind of been like New Mutants, the comic book. But then as time went on, the new mutants were eventually morphed into X-Force, which had Cable and some of the characters you've seen in the latest Deadpool movie. Maybe that's the route they're going with it. Okay. Who knows? It could be Cable and those guys, but I would have liked to have seen them call it X-Force if that's the case.
It looks like it's a younger cast. The characters, again, I'm not into the X-Men world, so I didn't recognize most of the characters that's included in the movie. So I don't know. We'll see how that does. April 3rd is also when we're going to get a Resident Evil 3 video game re-release. They've gone back, and I've seen, just reading a little bit, that they've already kind of remade the first two Resident Evil video games for the modern consoles and stuff. So Resident Evil 3 for you fans out there, that's coming April 3rd. April 8th is what I got my calendar circled for. James Bond: No Time to Die coming to theaters. I've believe I've seen every James Bond movie starting with the Pierce Brosnan era in the theater. Many of them with my wife, even one before we were married. But I don't know. It's just like a tradition. They usually come out in November around my birthday, and that was usually a request I made. Let's go see the new James Bond. But they pushed this one to April, and this is going to be Daniel Craig's last one. So we'll see how they kind of push the story forward, or if they push the story forward in this movie. April 24th, new video game Predator Hunting Grounds coming to PS4. Playing as the Predator. It looks like a first-person shooter type game. Thought that was interesting that they're still building off of that universe and into video games, you know.
Well, that's a nice way to do it, though, because usually all the Predator-related stuff, you're always from the opposing side. Now you're going to be the Predator. That's right. That gives it all new life.
You're right. Coming back to theaters, April 26th, 27th, and 29th, courtesy Fathom Events, A League of Their Own.
Oh.
I have not watched that one in years.
I love that movie. Not that I don't think I'd go to a theater to watch it, but I love that movie.
I just watched 8 Men Out over Christmas. I had not seen that one in a while. So I'm in the baseball mood. Yeah, bring it on. All right, then finishing out April, we're not sure exactly which date yet, but NBC Peacock, the app that they've announced is going to be released, and we're going to keep an eye on what all content is going to be available there as we get closer, but trying to be in the retro streaming world for 2020. This has definitely got my eyes open, and I'm curious to see what NBC is going to offer for us on the streaming service.
Yeah, all that stuff's always curious because you think back to all the shows NBC had in primetime when you were a kid, and you're like, oh man, we'll get this, we'll get that. But that's not how it works, because those shows were licensed to NBC then from the production studio, and who holds the license now and the deals they get made. Because you'd love to say, okay, man, we're going to get old Night Court, A-Team, this and that, but it just don't work that way. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Like on CBS All Access to have like Cheers and Wings that you grew up watching on NBC. It's a little mind tingling there.
That's what my mind immediately goes to. A-Team, Knight Rider, those are all NBC shows. Miami Vice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, going into May now. May 1st, we get The Black Widow in theaters. I've seen trailers for this. I'm curious mainly since David Harbour is involved to see that one. I'm not sure if I'll see that one in the theater or not. Any thoughts? Have you seen the trailer for that?
I caught a little bit of the trailer. It's like I said, I'm not a theater guy, but I will keep it in the back of my mind for when it, I guess it'll probably go straight to Disney Plus when it finally hits a streaming service. So
that's probably what I'm going to end up doing with it. May 1st, also, we're going to get a new Alanis Morissette album. Such Pretty Forks in the Road, title of that one.
Do you have to change the title on that one too, or is it actually Forks?
It's actually Forks. That's
okay.
Middle of the month, May 15th, is the animated Scoob movie coming to theaters. Scooby-Doo reimagined. And we even get a Scooby and Shaggy origin story in that, from what I understand.
No, we're going to get to see them tripping acid.
Right? Behind the scenes, Scoob, yeah. What really happens in the Mystery Machine?
Well, that's the only way there's a talking dog. It's not Scooby's not really talking, just Shaggy's on acid so bad he thinks he's talking. He's always eating Scooby snacks. Sense. Always, got the munchies. Yep. Come on.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. May 15th, we're going to get a new Weezer album called Van Weezer. That's their 14th. I had not realized they've released that many albums. That Teal one that they released, I think it was in 2019.
They've released 14 albums and 2 good ones. So.
I did like the last one, that Teal one where they did all the cover songs. That was pretty good. May 17th and 20th, Airplane is returning to theaters, courtesy Fathom Events. I don't know if that one would be enough to get me to go. I do enjoy the movie, but I don't know if I would be motivated to go to the theater to watch the airplane.
Of all the ones I've heard of them bringing back to the theaters, that sounds like the weakest of the bunch so far.
Yeah. May 22nd, Fast and Furious 9 hits theaters. God, how do we get to 9 on that movie? But I think the 20th anniversary of the first one is either this year or next year. So it's been around. It's been a long franchise.
Of the original movie?
The original movie, yeah.
The original came out in 99. We've already passed the 20-year anniversary.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long franchise. Sometime in May, we're getting when we talked about this, I think on an earlier Recurrent Events, the Playmobil Back to the Future DeLorean with Marty and Doc and Einstein, and also a Marty and Doc 2-pack. So be on the lookout for that if you're in the Playmobil world. I still haven't gotten into I wanted to get some of the Ghostbusters ones that they've released, but just haven't pulled the trigger on those. They're just a little bit different style and stuff.
I was a huge Playmobil fan back in the 80s, and I've still got some of those pieces, but I'm glad to see they're still alive and kicking, though.
That's right, yeah. I did see, I think they were maybe exclusive at one point when Toys R Us was still open, but they're definitely in Walmart now, so that's probably where you're going to find those. And then sometime in May, we're going to get the launch of HBO Max streaming service. And I did think we've seen, or they've released some of the content for that. Definitely going to be posting more of that on the Retro Network as we get closer to launch date and what content's going to be available for that. But it sounds like it's going to be around that, I think it was $11 or $12 range for HBO Max. And it included all of the MGM stuff, was it? Can't remember.
I think so.
Off my head. It sounded like there was going to be a huge library of old like cartoons and stuff as well coming over with that. All right, summer months. We're here, June 5th. I will definitely be in the theater for this. Wonder Woman 1984. The trailer looks great, and just the whole being in the 80s thing is, that usually sells me right off the top if you're going to set a movie in the 80s, but the trailer using New Order's song in there, gosh, it was just perfect, and I'm anxious to see that one in the theaters. I do like the first one. I do own that one. Have you watched it? Never watched the first one?
No.
It's pretty good.
Remember, I'm still in 96 right now.
Well, we're going back to 84, so that should be...
Well, now that could bump it up on the list now, couldn't it?
Yeah. June 12th, we're getting a remake of the Candyman movie in theaters. And this one is, I believe, directed by Jordan Peele, who has become kind of a big name in the horror movie industry now. What was that movie he released last year? I think it was Us, something like that. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not big into the horror movies, but did not know that they were redoing Candyman. So for you horror fans, that's coming June 12th. Another big one for me in June at the theater, June 26th, Top Gun Maverick. Just released another trailer, I think last week, and the footage looks spectacular. That's what I'm going for. The story, whatever, however you want to, serve it up to me. I'm going for the footage and just the overall look. It seems that they've been able to come up with in the modern day of putting flying jets in the sky. Looks spectacular. Here's a big one for you, man. Maybe the biggest of the year for Fathom Events. June 28th and July 1st, they're bringing the Blues Brothers back to theaters.
Oh.
That's enough to get me motivated to go. Love the Blues Brothers.
But it'll be in June, though. The Blues Brothers is a fall/winter movie that you need to watch it in the fall or winter. It's got that vibe to it for some reason. Don't ask me why. It just does.
Okay.
Now, they should do like a double feature with it and Blues Brothers 2000 where you could watch them back to back. Mm-hmm. That would be a lot of fun.
Sometime in June, I'm not sure the dates yet. This is when we're going to start seeing some Baby Yoda figures becoming available, aka the Child. Pop vinyls. They do that Black Series for Star Wars. Those are coming. That one actually is coming in May with a Mandalorian. But for you pop vinyl collectors, you're going to start seeing Baby Yoda around June, maybe a little bit earlier. Also in June, Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison pop vinyls. They're going to have like a Happy Gilmore and Bob Barker 2-pack I saw.
I would like to have just a Bob Barker. You can keep Happy Gilmore. Just give me the Bob Barker figure. But I want it like not from the movie and the Hawaiian shirt and the golf glove. I want, Bob Barker, Price is Right host version,
Yeah, and the Barker's Beauties. We need one for each one of those too, man.
There's a line they should look at. That's a line they need to look at as old game show host. Give me a Wink Martindale. Give me a Ray Combs. I'd take that any day too.
Give me you need a Wink Martindale with the dragon from Tic Tac Doe. And then you need a Peter Tamarkin and you need a Whammy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, Bob Barker, and you could have the Three Beauties, the original or the ones from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. All right.
Well, Bob Barker was a pimp.
Yeah, the history there is a little sketchy, but
thank God Me Too wasn't a thing back then.
Right.
Like for Bob.
Right. Let's move on to July now. July 10th. This one is circled. Probably the one I'm most looking forward to next year as far as movies go. Ghostbusters Afterlife is in theaters July 10th. I've watched the first trailer. It's got a Stranger Things vibe to it. And of course, it's got whatever his name is, Wolfman, Wolfnard, Wolf, one of the kids, Mike from Stranger Things. But it's also looks like they're building off of Egon's family legacy. Maybe the grandson is the little kid in the movie. It looks like. So. It's a little bit different seeing Ecto-1 like peeling out in a cornfield, So how they got to the Midwest, I don't know how that's going to all play out. Very interested to see where they go with that and what other stuff surrounding Ghostbusters we might see in stores and, the retail market. So July 10th for that one. July 24th, just not many in July here. Disney is doing a movie based on their ride, The Jungle Cruise, with The Rock. I have seen the trailer. It's kind of interesting to me. It's not something I'm probably going to, seek out in the theater, but as much as I was skeptical about like Pirates of the Caribbean until, you start seeing trailers and stuff, you're making a movie off of a ride? Really?
Yeah, and Haunted Mansion and stuff. They've done good with all of them.
But from the ones that I've seen, they're not been bad. They've been.
This is a movie I'll watch at some point in my life. I won't go to the theater to see it, but I'm sure it'll come to Disney Plus. I'll probably, it's got The Rock in it. It's only going to be so bad at that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'll watch it at some point.
Sign up for it. He's not going to just go for anything, I don't think, at this point in his career. But I could be wrong. It's Disney. Maybe you just want to do a Disney movie.
He seems to take on movies that he thinks would be fun. Not if he thinks it'll do well or what people will think of him, like the Rampage movie and stuff.
Right.
I think he takes projects that he personally thinks he would have fun with.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. It's a good thing for him that he is in a position that he can just do what he wants to do, and not what he's pressured into doing or what he's expected to do.
That's right. That's all I had for July. I've got one thing for August. August 21st, Bill and Ted Face the Music in theaters. I've seen clips. I can't remember. I thought I read somewhere we're going to get a trailer maybe this month or next month. That could be wrong.
This is where Fathom Events needs to be working overtime. Like 2 weeks before this, they should have Excellent Adventure in theaters, and a week before it, they should have Bogus Journey in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a month before. You pick Fathom Events needs to get on that sort of stuff and start bringing back the old movies that are now we're getting a new, like Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. Fathom Events should be all over that before Afterlife, putting those back in theaters for a weekend.
Right. That would be great.
That would get your money 3 times, wouldn't it? You'd go watch all 3 of them, most likely. I mean, people like you who go to theaters and stuff.
Well, I saw that, I think it's in 2021, they're already planning a Keanu Reeves day when The Matrix 4 and John Wick 4, I think, come out on the same day. In the theater, yeah. So
as an actor, why would you allow that?
I don't know, but
I mean,
Keanu
well, of
Reeves'
course,
stock
these
is super high right now.
These days, I guess they all get their money up front. They don't take points on the back end. If they still took points on the back end, you would definitely not want them competing in the theater with each other. But
well, if you're a Keanu fan, you'd be going from one theater to the other, though, wouldn't you? If you got two new movies on the same day.
yeah, if you're a Keanu fan, if you're a general moviegoer, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, you probably end up if you're a general moviegoer, you probably end up watching them both in different weekends. But
still, I thought that was interesting. All right,
he has had a very weird career arc, hasn't he?
Right.
I mean, to be this popular this late, I mean, good for him.
Well, yeah, and I think that's pretty much why they ended up doing a Bill and Ted 3 finally, you know?
Yeah, because of his popularity.
Yeah.
And John Wick is what really brought him back. You know, he was big with the Matrix years and stuff, but then he was kind of missing in action there for a while.
Right. All right, let's get to the fall of 2020. We're in the home stretch here to get to the end of the year. Sometime within the fall, we have not got a specific date yet. We're going to get the Masters of the Universe Origin toy line in stores. The first 6 figures have been announced. He-Man, Skeletor, Beastman, Man-at-Arms, Teela, and Evil Lyn. They're going to come on those vintage style Masters of the Universe cards. The cost is going to be about $15 each. This is from a report from San Diego Comic-Con last year.
Yeah, 5.5 inches tall, but will come packed with updated articulations. That's right. Cool.
They did release a preview pack at Comic-Con with Prince Adam and He-Man. They look pretty great. So just seeing them in the stores will be just a mind trip to me.
Well,
so glad they're coming back.
I'm looking at a picture of them here, and it shows the 6 you mentioned, but it also has Trapjaw.
Oh, really? Okay, so maybe there's another one.
He may be like a short packed figure or something.
Yeah,
but they do look really cool. They still mostly have that classic Masters of the Universe look to them, but slightly different.
Mm-hmm. The updated articulation too is going to be fun.
And that looks like it looks like there's a ball joint in the shoulder now. Instead of the arm just moving backwards and forwards, it can kind of roll around. But I don't see any articulation at the elbows or the knees. So that may be the only update to the articulation.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that. September 13th, 14th, 17th, Close Encounters is returning to theaters, courtesy Fathom Events. Not a movie that I've watched a lot of over the years. I've maybe seen it 2 or 3 times. Just not, I don't know, that never connected with me.
I'm not sure I've ever watched it.
Really? And then what I've seen has just been on whatever cable back in the day. I haven't watched it in years. September 18th, you're going to get Tom Clancy's Without Remorse in theaters. This is an adaptation of a 90s novel that he did, and it's got Michael B. Jordan, I think, is in that movie. Looked pretty interesting. First I'd heard about it, that it was coming out, doing my research. Into October 2nd, we're going to get Venom 2 in theaters. I still have not watched the first one.
Me either.
It looked okay, though. I mean, not really a reason for me not to watch it. I don't know if at some point if they're going to get more, characters kind of in the Spider-Man universe, or how they're going to tie that in, or if they're going to tie it in and just kind of leave it its own thing. But yeah, Venom 2 in theaters on October 2nd. October 11th and 12th, the original Psycho is returning to theaters for its 60th anniversary, courtesy Fathom Events. So that'll get some people going there before the Halloween season. And then 2 movies on October 16th. The first is Halloween Kills. This is actually the sequel to the remake of Halloween from a few years ago. And on the same day, we're getting the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes movie on October 16th.
Yeah, I'm still a little reserved on that one.
I'm waiting to see a trailer. I want to see a trailer and see what they're going to do with it. I have no reason really not to go, but probably how the trailers look and any hype around it is going to motivate me whether to go see it in the theater or not.
Right.
That's what I've got for October. November 6th, we get Marvel's Eternals in the theater.
That should be cool.
I don't know anything about that franchise.
It's too difficult to explain other than they were very cool characters. And I really look forward to that. They featured them some on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show in the second season, but not great portrayals of them. You just do a little Google search and you'll quickly get up to speed on who and what they are and how cool the concept is.
Okay. November 20th is going to be a big one for me as far as movies go. Godzilla versus King Kong in the theater. That'll probably be my Thanksgiving movie to watch this coming year. Really excited for that. Like I said, I enjoyed King of the Monsters. I even enjoyed the Godzilla in this current series, the first movie in that series, and the Skull Island King Kong. That was pretty good too with Sam Jackson. So I'm anxious to see how this one is going to do, and I'll definitely be watching that one in the theater. I like these big monster movie type films. I like going to see those in the theater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The kind of larger than life ones. And then a couple items for December. December 18th, we're going to get the Dune remake. I still have never seen the original, but I don't know. We'll see how that pans out with trailers and stuff. And also December 18th, Coming to America, which is the Coming to America sequel. The number 2 America, I should say. Coming to theaters. I don't know. We'll see how that, again, I'm waiting for trailers on some of these to see if it's going to be worth heading out to the theater. December 23rd, though, you might go and see this one over Christmas break. What do you think? Tom and Jerry?
No.
No? Not going to go?
No.
I thought you were a big Tom and Jerry fan.
Well, I am, of the Chuck Jones and the old cartoon from the 60s. I hate all the new cartoons. I don't like any of it.
Okay.
They need to quit messing with some of this stuff.
Well, I think we mentioned too, we talked about it in an earlier podcast. It's going to be that kind of Roger Rabbit style. It sounded like mixed live action and, CGI. So I don't know. It's still fun that they're bringing Tom and Jerry back to the theater.
It is for a new generation. That's well, fine and good. It's just not something I'm interested in seeing.
All right. Now I've got a short list of kind of to be announced releases for 2020 that we'll get through here. Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. That's an animated series coming to Netflix. I thought that would be fun, kind of in the meantime as you're waiting to, go see the Jurassic World 3, that they're putting an animated series in here. Another one for Netflix, animated series, Ghost in the Shell, SAC 2045 is the name of that one for you anime fans.
That's my license plate number.
CBS All Access is getting a 10-episode series on Stephen King's The Stand.
Wow. So this is a new The Stand.
Yes. It's
They're
new,
not just bringing back the original miniseries. No,
this is a new miniseries. They've updated. I have not seen a date on that one yet. Coming to CBS All Access.
That's to me, I think I'm more excited for that than anything we've mentioned on this whole list so far.
Coming to Disney Plus sometime in 2020, you're going to get the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series and also the WandaVision series. They've moved that one up from, that was supposed to come out 2021, but you're going to get that towards the end of probably 2020 on Disney Plus. I started watching the first Captain America last night and giving both of those movies, well, the first two a run again, because I don't know, I didn't connect with those really more than some of the other Marvel movies for some reason. I should totally, gosh, you got Nazis, the all-time, best bad guy to have in a movie.
The biggest heels in the business right there.
Yeah. But I don't know, for some reason I didn't like those as much as some of the other ones in the Marvel Universe. So trying that again, and we'll see if maybe that helps me to get excited for the Falcon and Winter Soldier series. Some more new music albums coming for 2020. You're going to get new ones from Bush, the Deftones, the Doobie Brothers, Megadeth, and the Scorpions, all releasing new albums in 2020. And then this was fun as far as the video game world. Xbox One is going to be releasing a new Microsoft Flight Simulator video game. You remember when flight simulators were like all the talk? Back in the early 90s, probably even earlier than that. I don't know when the original Microsoft Flight Simulator came out, but I thought that was fun that they're going to be redoing that or publishing for the modern era, Yeah. And then a couple more on video games. You're going to get the next installment in the Halo series, Halo Infinite. I was a huge Halo fan back in the day. That one hit. That's coming up on 20 years, I think, for the original Halo. And then Streets of Rage 4. I love the original Streets of Rage. The first two were great in the early 90s. And number 4 is going to be released this year in that series. So that does it, man. Whew. Went through a lot of stuff through that this year. So you think that the Stand is what you're looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I know it's a little quirky, but I love the book and I love the original miniseries, and I didn't even know they were remaking it. So
I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to be my number one for 2020. Really looking forward to that. But there's several movies. I went ahead. I was at watching my second viewing of Star Wars, and I upped my AMC Stubbs membership again. It had ran out, so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to see some movies in the theater for 2020 to get my savings here. But looking forward to seeing Ghostbusters again and what comes around that. So just talk a little bit about the Retro Network. You know, we don't plan that far ahead. Even with this podcast, we don't. But like I said, I'm going to try to focus more on some retro streaming content for everybody and take a deep dive into some of the streaming services. But, mainly that monthly guide is something I'm going to be putting together. And hopefully you'll see that as a resource and can even just bookmark that webpage. I'm going to be updating. I've already updated the one for this month with some stuff coming to Roku and Pluto TV, but really want to get into more streaming content for everybody this year with the Retro Mind. We've teased the Drive-In 95 podcast on Patreon. We still have not set in stone yet when we're going to release our January episode, but we're hoping to release one each month for our patrons there. And the first two that we have done in this feed for Christmas Vacation and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles are the most downloaded so far in our early 6-month lifetime here. And I think this is going to be about the 75th episode we've released in all in our channel. So those drive-ins are fun, man. I love putting the Christmas Vacation one together, and I know you loved putting the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So we're going to hit 12 movies that came out in 1995, most of which I think we've seen in the theater, seen many times over the years. Probably a couple that we've only seen once or maybe missed us.
And we picked 95 because it's now the 25th anniversary for all those movies that year, and good to go back to the 90s.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to putting those podcasts together for everybody. So, $2 on Patreon is going to get you all those episodes. So make sure once those start dropping, you're subscribed over there and bought into Patreon so you can get those episodes. And then I've really been enjoying the Wax Pack Flashback, man. I think those are fun. It's been just fun to watch. I love watching you open those cards and some that I've never knew even existed, like the ones from last week. But the way you're, tying them into what's going on at the Retro Network has been really fun as well.
Yeah, the one that just went live yesterday as we record this was based on 90s comics. And since we just launched the Wizards Podcast Guide to Comics, I thought that was fitting. And matter of fact, a comment just now came through on that video from Gerospace. It says, "I love the sound of the wrapper when you're opening them. It's the sound that brings me back to my childhood." there is so much about opening those that takes me back to my childhood. That's why I like doing the videos. And some of these cards I have purchased, but I have never opened a pack in my life, so it's new for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really digging it.
Yeah, I like it when you struggle to open it. I mean, you get you get the sound, and then you get this is what we went through. Who traded cards back in the day.
Well, back in the day, I would have just shredded it. But now I'm trying to open them so I can completely unfold them and scan them, because I keep a collection of the full wax pack art, and I'm trying to be gentle with some of them.
Yeah, don't want them to disintegrate in your hands, but still, it's fun. And we'll tease you for what's coming up next week here in a minute. But anything else as far as your outlook for TRN in 2020 you want to throw in there, Mick?
I figure we'll probably die off sometime in the spring.
You think so? Yeah.
No, actually, with some news that we got last month, I think we're looking for a big jump in the spring at some point, actually.
We are. I'm trying to, I don't want to get too far into this because we're still in the early planning stages, but hoping to review some shows kind of week to week that are coming out in 2020, which is something we haven't done before. We do the roundtable review podcasts, which are really fun, and we kind of wrap things up after a full season drops. But now that these services like CBS and Disney are releasing week to week, I still say it would be fun to get some articles out there and break down the individual episodes, Mm-hmm. So looking to do some of that coming up this year on the Retro Network. So yeah, man, I just like being along for the ride. A lot of this stuff we build from anniversaries, and I'll go ahead and pull anniversaries in TV and music and movies usually each month for our staff to look at and maybe get some ideas. So as the year goes along, it's always fun to kind of look back and see, oh my gosh, this thing is really 30 years old.
Yeah.
I'm a numbers guy, so that kind of blows my mind. Anyway, we are glad you are here and will be for 2020 as we release all this content, and all of our staff are glad they're along for the ride too. We're looking to actually add a couple more staffers, and it's just gonna be fun, man. We're gonna have a lot of content coming out on a week to week basis, and we're always looking for your comments too. And we're gonna kind of wrap things up on this 2020 preview and talk about some of those comments and some stuff we got coming up in the next week. So stick around for that. All right, we are back to wrap up the show, and we've got some fun stuff coming up this week. Hope you have listened to that Wizards episode that dropped on New Year's Day, and we're going to have another episode hopefully on the 15th this month. I'm being told from Adam, episode 2. And we've got another sequel.
Episode 1, the most downloaded debut show in the history of the network.
That's right. It's true. And then the Sequel Quest guys will be back this Friday with a Fifth Element sequel. That's another movie I haven't really connected with. I've watched maybe once or twice over the years, but just never connected with me. So I know there's still some fans and diehard fans of that movie, so we'll see what they do with the sequel coming up this Friday. What do we have for the Wax Pack Flashback this coming week?
1983 Knight Rider cards featuring the Hoff.
Yes, I actually have several of those. Was trying to put together an entire set, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. Somebody sent me some, and then I got some cheap ones, I think on eBay. And I was like, yeah, let's go for it. It's got the puzzle on the back. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I'm guessing that whole series, all the cards had a puzzle on the back, didn't they?
I think they might have. Because I think it's one of those 66 trading cards. Have you ever been to, I think it's tradingcarddb.com or Trading Cards DB? It's the online database for trading cards.
No, I haven't.
Oh gosh, it's such a good resource, and they've got scans on there of some old series and stuff. But if you just punch in, they have categories for sports, non-sports, whatever, music. but you can search by year and actually search 1983, and it'll bring up every single set that was released in '83. Cool. Let me see if I can find that real quick, because I've used it in the past. I was looking, actually put together an image of the Tron puzzle. I think might have been from that year, '83, and oh gosh, such a great resource. Yeah, tradingcarddb.com.
I'll have to check that out at some point.
That was not an official endorsement, but it's a great resource for trading cards. Do you got anything else? What else we got coming up this week?
Well, Eric is doing it's Way Back Wednesday, the music of 1983, where he's going to be going through the music charts every week from '83, and I think that's going to be very interesting for everybody. Seeing how songs moved up and down on the charts and what dropped in where and what became an overnight sensation and what took a while to get to the top of the charts. There were some songs in '83 that we look back on now that were major hits that took a while to climb that high. So it'll be interesting.
I want to do a deep dive sometime when I have nothing to do, maybe when I'm retired, on songs that peaked at no higher than 41. Stuff that we just never, that were released but never hit the top 40 program. And just, I don't know, that fascinates me. Some of those that didn't quite make it, that might be some great music that we just missed out on. And I grew up on top 40. I grew up on Casey Kasem, and those are the songs I know and love and want to hear when I'm listening to just 80s. But there's still some deeper cuts there that I'd love to go a little bit deeper on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've got some feedback here. We want to read back from this past week. Actually, not including my notes here, Mick, on Wizards Episode 1 at Steven Staples 81 on Twitter. He said, I was shocked to hear my own name mentioned in the initial episode of this podcast. It's so incredibly well done. If you, like me, love Wizard Magazine, then you will completely, totally love this radical and bodacious, and he puts in parentheses, that's how we talked back then, podcast. Thanks for that, and thanks for sharing that, Steven, over on Twitter. Moving along, Tim, our friend Old School 80s, left several comments on some of the articles on the website this past week on Way Back Wednesday. He said, can't wait. I will surely be reading this every week. Totally relate to the soundtrack of my adolescence, feeling about 80s music. That is one of the main reasons I am so infatuated with the decade. One thing I am sure you will find about the charts during those years, like 83 to 86, are some of the amazing and prolific songs, looking back now, that didn't chart all that high back then.
Yeah, he had the same thought I did.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to Way Back Wednesday. On your Wax Pack flashback on the New Kids on the Block cards, Tim just simply said, love the Wax Pack flashbacks. And then your end of the year retro ramblings, Tim said, Happy New Year. Thanks to you and Jason for creating TRN. Here's to a great 2020.
No.
So we're very glad to have Tim along with us and sharing some of his articles, and just the 80s community that follows him is very lengthy. I've enjoyed posting his interviews too over there on Rediscover the 80s. So he's been a great addition to the staff. Appreciate you, Tim, for leaving the comments and being along with us for this ride. Anxious for 2020 as well. Just before we wrap up here, I did ask our friends over there on the Patreon chat on Slack what they were looking forward to in the new year. Gary said that he is looking forward to Top Gun Maverick in 2020. I believe we said that was in June. And Kevin said more comic movies. I'm going to one, maybe two wrestling events. Can't wait to discover all things that find me at the perfect time. And that's cool too. Like I said, we don't plan too far ahead on the Retro Network. We just kind of let what's going on influence us, which is a fun way to approach things instead of having, stuff planned months in advance. But that's a good point from Kevin, is some of these things that we've been posting in article series and even podcasts kind of hit you at the perfect time.
Right.
And it just works out without, you even expecting it, that you get to a little bit of nostalgia come back to you. So appreciate those guys there. And yeah, if you guys would go over to Patreon, support us, you can get included on that chat. And I'd like to throw out ideas there and everything too for the podcast, the website. And but we're still open. You can find us on Twitter. You know where it is, at TRN Social, at RD80s, at Yesterdayville. We're not opposed to the free platforms, But yeah, we just so glad you guys are here for the ride in 2020. Anxious to get all this content to you and experience it with you. And again, leave your comments with what you are looking forward to in 2020, and would love to get your interaction. So hope you have a less stressful week, Mick, this coming week.
I'm hoping so.
It was fun going through this calendar, and maybe we can get to a point someday where we can get these events uploaded and have people looking for them a little bit down the road as we announce them. But it was fun, man. Fun to go through the year.
Very, very fun.
So thanks everybody again for listening, subscribing. Make sure you follow us and leave a review if you would over there on your favorite podcast app. It helps us out. And we will talk to you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Network Podcast channel. Make sure you listen to all of the great podcasts we have to offer right here in this feed. If you enjoy our channel, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on social media by following TRN Social, and visit the retronetwork.com website for your daily retro fix. Come back next week for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast.